So back to the map, I should have thought. So I should have said, if I were you, what I would find interesting is how I meet these people and how I come across these people, because it's not just a question of driving around and seeing some vines and thinking, oh, hang on a sec, I wonder if they make wine. When you get to wine regions like this and you drive around, I'm sure a lot of you have done, you'll suddenly realize that you're in a wine producing region, and you'll suddenly realize just how many vines there are alongside the road. And that's just on the main road. So imagine if you go off the road, that people have them growing in their back gardens, they have them growing, on swings and slides. It's, in a wine producing region, people have a little plot, 10 meters squared, in their back garden that they will sell to the cooperatives. So there are wines everywhere. So sometimes I find wines by, not by knocking on people's doors, but by driving around, seeing a sign, and giving it a chance. Other times, like these first two, they're actually recommendations from a friend of a friend, or a friend of a producer. So I've got a producer down in Perpignan in the southwest who put me in touch with what can only be described as a fanatic of Loire wines. I think he's an IT programmer, but he, on the side, he's obsessed with Melon de Bourgogne and Muscadet. And I got in touch with him, and he recommended a few people, and he said, oh, this Nicolas Suteau is, he's pretty hot stuff. He's making some really good wines, doing very well. So I got in touch with him. I went to go and meet him. He recommended, I actually then went for a drink with him in Nantes that evening, and it was great because he explained all of the wines of the region. People think of Muscadet as I said, it's got this reputation of being quite simple, nothing sort of special to it, a bit archaic, something of the 80s. But he said that there's, as happens in a lot of countries, a lot of regions, new young winemakers, especially second generation, but also third generations, are taking over the vines. These are conscientious people. These are millennials. They're into doing things properly and saving the planet. And they're making wines that are honest and modest, if I may, and then also, natural in many ways. So natural is with very low intervention. So he then put me in touch with Jeremy. So I went to go and see Jeremy and did a tour. Now the next producer, I'm not going to follow the route because unfortunately we're not going to taste quite in the order that I bought, although that would have been great. So I went, we're going to skip Bordeaux, skip the next ones. We're going up to Aline Beaune. So we're up in the Côte Chalonnaise. So we're in Burgundy. Now, as a new wine importer, buying Burgundy is quite frightening because there are a lot of very, very established Burgundy producers already in the market. They're sort of globally known. They are, ridiculously expensive, and it's almost like you don't want to try and sort of try and challenge that or have anything that's going to be like that. But I came across Aline through a Californian importer that imports her wines to California, and I was reading up about her. And again, I got in touch. This is her first ever vintage. So I've always found that quite exciting. I've got 3 of these wines that we're going to taste today, or that we are tasting today, are the winemaker's first ever vintages, which is, quite an exciting thing. It's the result of many, many years of the road to becoming a winemaker. So Aline has always been from around Montagny. She's from Bouxy, which is a town in Montagny. For 15 years, she was making wine. She was the winemaker for a slightly bigger domain in Centenay, so a bit further south, making red wines, principally. And then, as happens very often, her parents had some vines, maybe in the garden, whatever, but slightly bigger, and they were renting them out to the local cooperative. As you do, if you're not a winemaker, if you don't have the facilities, you've got grapes, and it's the best way to make money out of them. And she decided that the lease was up to the cooperative, and she decided with her parents that they were going to take the lease back, and that they were going to take the land back, and that she was going to make the wine herself. So from 15 years of making wine for someone else, suddenly she's got these vines that are 30, 40, 50 years old, respectively. She's got a Premier Cru vineyard, or she's got vines in a Premier Cru vineyard. She's got vines in the Montagny appellation, and she's got vines in the generic Bourgogne, so the Burgundy. So when it says Bourgogne on the bottle, it just means a generic regional appellation. So yeah, when I drove up to go and see her and find out what she was doing. So I think, first of all, she's a really lovely lady. She works incredibly hard. She still works a few days consulting for the other winery. So she's got a young kid. And she started this 2018, well, 17, but 18 was her first ever vintage. So I've got this wine, I've got wines from Aline across 3 lines. I've got the Bourgogne, I've got the Montagny, and I've got the Montagny Premier Cru. So this Bourgogne, this is invariably a white Bourgogne like this will be no oak, or very, very little oak, more on the fruit, very, again, lean, very fresh. You know, it's something that I think on the nose, generally, it sounds like it sounds insulting, but I never expect too much on the nose from a Bourgogne, a white Bourgogne, because it should just be crisp, fresh, clean. You know, you get the kind of bit of citrus, a bit of apple. You finish that one. Don't mix your whites. So on the nose, should be very crisp, very lean, bit of white fruit, bit of apple, bit of citrus. You know, white Burgundy is whatever it means, quite a sort of classy, quite classy drink. You know, it takes a bit of time, there's complexity. There's not a huge amount up front to start with, but this is the wine that you'll note I asked you to take out the same time as the first 2, because you don't want to have this super, super cold. You know, you want to have really, really bad wine, super, super cold, so you can't taste it. You know, wine that's got a bit more going on, that's got a bit more subtle fruit, that has a bit more tension, a bit more minerality. You want to warm up a bit, because otherwise, if it's too cold, the flavor, this might be rubbish, but the flavor particles or something like that, they seize up and they firm up. You don't get anything out of them. You need to be relaxed and sort of soft. So yeah, with white Burgundy, you're looking for some citrus, white fruit, nice acidity. So we're quite far north. If you think back to the map, we are, you know, apart from Chablis, this is the region furthest north, really, that in the world that you grow Chardonnay, this kind of conditions. So not looking for really tropical, rich, ripe fruit. So if anyone just put their hand into the camera if they like white Burgundy generally. Big fans, yeah. Wow, tough crowd. So yeah, so white Burgundy. As a Bourgogne, for me, over time, I think, and I was tasting this last night, and it was too cold when it started. I think all the things I said on the nose, I think are true. You know, I think it's not going to be obvious in your face, tropical, you know, aggressive. It's a little more subtle, but on the palate, you get a lot more of the, you know, of the structure, a lot more of acidity. And for me, I start to get things like hazelnuts, like a slight sort of nuttiness, a slight sort of greenness. Well, I put yellow, you know, white flour. I put a bit of popcorn at the end, but it tastes like it's got a sort of butteriness to it. Not overtly, not really creamy, not like a sort of really big oaked white Burgundy, but it's got something. Will this? Yeah. No, it won't sit. No, so this won't sit in oak. It spends no time in oak. So it's some people for entry Burgundy will put their wines in oak, and that does two things. It develops the wine quicker than in stainless steel, because the oak's porous, so the air gets in and it starts to change the wine very, 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 very slowly. And secondly, it imparts a flavour on the wine. So depending on, and this depends on what sort of barrel you use, and also how old the barrel is and how much you char the barrel. So there's a lot of permutations and combinations of oak that you can use. But essentially, as soon as you start putting the wine in oak, it changes the flavours of the grape. So you start to get a bit more butteriness, you start to get a bit more smokiness, cedar. Again, depending, it could be American oak, could be French oak, could be Slovenian oak, could be Hungarian oak. I don't think they use English oak yet, but yes. So yeah, exactly. So that it changes, having oak on a wine, and especially on a Chardonnay, changes it from being something that is, like people say, like sucking on a stick soaked in butter, to just drinking a Chardonnay that hasn't been soaked in butter. So this one is no oak, but you still get a little bit, you still get that butteriness. I think you still get a little bit of nuttiness as well, and softness. The other extreme is very, very rich, is very overpowering, is a little bit, can be a little bit sweet, or can appear a little bit sweet because it doesn't have increased sugar. But there are some fantastic wines, like really expensive, well-respected wines. It's a different drink, isn't it, Tamara? Because it's something you need to kind of always have a good night's sleep before having one. So this Bourgogne for me, nice and clean, very fresh. As I said, I get a lot more hazelnuts at the end when, as it warms up a little bit, as it softens. This, good for white meats, but with a bit more structure. You can have a bit of fat on your pork with this. Nice acidic and malolactic, yeah. With pork and chicken pasta, definitely it's better as it warms up. Yeah, great. So yeah, I think I was hesitating asking you to get this out even earlier, but most of us, probably me as well, almost certainly not me, drink our white wines too cold, all right? Because I think the tendency is to be like, oh, I fancy a glass of white, and so you go to the fridge and you go, what have I got? And you get out a really nice bottle of white, and then you drink it and you go, ah, that's nice. Whereas all you wanted was a cold glass of water, probably. If you've got to plan ahead a bit with your wines, whatever you're drinking. Open every bottle, I would say, that you have half an hour before, especially if it's cheap and not very nice, because you want to get some of that waft off. You want to let air sort of like open it up a bit, soften it out. So the cardinal sin is to get a nice bottle of Burgundy out of your fridge, have it cold, and have it without any air contact. Because as you see, if you've got another glass, if you leave this on the side and let it open up, it will change and it will soften, and it becomes a bit more of a serious drink than just a super cold glass of Pinot Grigio. It looks like Victoria's a fan as well. So. Does anyone have any questions about about any of the whites? Because we're going to move on to the strange sparkly red thing under crown cap. Just going to do my lighting. Any other questions? Yeah, exactly.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can we just have 5 minutes while we finish this bottle, and then we'll go to the weird red thing?
Yeah, let's because it's 8:40, so I'm keeping perfectly to time. So yeah, 5 minutes. Works very well. Have a break. Finish the glass. Nick and Tamara, I agree. Yeah, red's too warm. Absolutely right. So actually, on that note, what I'll say is, everyone that's drinking the Pinot Noir, has everyone, and actually even the Bordeaux who's got them open, just pop them into the fridge now, assuming your fridge is not a restaurant chiller. Just pop them into the fridge. That'll be for 10 minutes or so. And then after the next wine, we'll take them out. If you had bought 2 bottles, we would have done a control experiment, but only 6 in the case.
Alex, can you repeat that, please, on the Pinot Noir?
Repeat that on the... Oh, on the Pinot Noir, yeah. So if you're drinking the Pinot Noir, so I don't know what the order I sent it round before. I've changed in a creative moment, in a moment of creative madness. We're gonna do the Pinot Noir. It seems obvious when I think about it. After the sparkling red, and then do the Bordeaux at the end. And any of you that were thinking of slinking off early, I've got Angela and Guilain from the winery who are going to come and join the call in a revolutionary first winemaker Zoom call to talk you through their wine. Not because I don't know about it, I don't know all about it. But so yeah, that will be after the sparkling red, which will be in about 5 minutes or so. But yeah, Jamie, put the Pinot Noir in the fridge for a little bit, for maybe 5-10 minutes, just to get it down, and also the other red as well, if you've got it.
First, just so we know, what sort of temperature should you drink the Pinot and the Burgundy? I need stats, figures, numbers.
How cold is a piece of string? It depends how you like it. Whatever floats your boat. I put my fridge on setting 3, so I don't know what that means for you. Funny enough, it is a Bosch, but yeah.
61 degrees.
61 degrees, Google says.
No.
Top search. All right.
Is it tomorrow?
Oh, right. Tomorrow says 61 degrees Fahrenheit.
We trust tomorrow.
Yeah. I thought you were talking Celsius for a second, but yeah, as an American, as you said earlier. I gotcha. Not 61 Celsius. I make that clear to everyone. I've got that recorded. So, So there's historically we talk about drinking wines at cellar temperature. Cellar temperature now, well, who's got a cellar these days? The cellar temperature historically was probably 5, 6, 7 degrees. The idea being, I guess, that you get your red out, and this is for red as well. You get your red out and you take it upstairs. You don't put it on the Alga, but you open it up, and you have a bit of freshness and vibrancy because the wine will warm up as it opens up. What you can't do is you can't chill the wine down. You can do. There's probably all sorts of things that do that, but what you want to do is you want it to open up and warm up, because at the same time that will sort of develop the flavors. So yeah, so just put it in your fridge for 10 minutes and see.
Ménilmontant, mais oui, madame, c'est là que j'ai laissé mon cœur. C'est là que je viens retrouver mon âme, toute ma flamme, tout mon bonheur. Quand je revois ma petite église où les mariages allaient gaiement, quand je revois ma vieille maison grise, même la brise parle d'antan. Elle me raconte comme autrefois de jolis contes. Au jour passé, je vous revois un rendez-vous, une musique, des yeux rêveurs, tout un roman d'amour prophétique et pathétique. Mais il m'entend quand midi sonne, la vie s'éveille à nouveau, tout résonne. Il est cool là, j'ai sa dilette au bistrot, la biblette, les journaux. Voici la grille verte, voici la porte ouverte qui grince un peu pour dire bonjour, bonjour alors.